Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are going to war.
That's a very dramatic way to start a Monday morning. Are we grabbing muskets?
It feels dramatic because the stakes are actually that high. But no,
Mm.
no muskets. We aren't fighting a person or a country. We're fighting a biological urge.
Okay.
We are tackling the absolute scarcity of focus in the modern world. We're looking at research that argues our inability to concentrate. It isn't just a bad habit.
Right. It's not just about doom scrolling too much.
Exactly. It's actually an economic disaster waiting to happen for our careers.
It really is. The sources we have today are all built around this concept of deep work. And if there's one mission for this deep dive, it is to convince you, the listener, that the ability to focus without distraction is like the new IQ.
The new IQ, I like that.
It's the superpower of the 21st century.
Okay, but before we get into the heavy economics and the terrifying stuff about robots taking all our jobs, I want to take us back to 1922. We are in Switzerland,
A very scenic place to start.
specifically the village of Bollingen. We have Carl Jung, the famous psychiatrist. Now, Jung is arguably the busiest intellectual in Europe at this time.
Oh, for sure. He has a massive clinical practice in Zurich. He's lecturing all over the place, writing papers.
But he has this problem. He's trying to create a whole new field, analytical psychology.
Right, he's trying to break away from his mentor, Sigmund Freud. And that isn't something you can just do in your spare time.
Yeah.
That requires some serious heavy-lifting brain power. You can't dismantle Freud's theories in between patient appointments or, while waiting for the bus.
Exactly. So what does he do? He doesn't just buy a do not disturb sign.
Yeah.
He does something pretty drastic. He buys land in Bollingen and builds a literal stone tower.
With no electricity, no running water.
He kept the key in his pocket, and he would lock himself in there every morning just to think.
He was incredibly strict about it. He said, "In my retiring room, I am by myself. I keep the key with me all the time. No one is allowed in there except me."
That tower is the perfect anchor for this whole conversation. Jung wasn't running away from his work.
No, he was building a physical structure to enable a specific type of work.
And that brings us to the core definition. What exactly is deep work? Because I think people confuse working hard or just, being busy with deep work.
Oh, there is a massive difference. The source material defines deep work as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration.
Okay, distraction-free.
And this is the key that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
Pushing cognitive capabilities to their limit. That sounds exhausting.
It is. It's supposed to be. These are not tasks you can do while listening to a podcast or keeping an eye on your inbox.
Right.
These efforts create new value, they improve your skill, and this is the most important part, they are hard to replicate.
Okay, so if deep work is the tower, what is the stuff most of us do all day? The emails, the Slack messages, the meetings, to plan the meetings.
That is shallow work, non-cognitively demanding logistical-style tasks, and they're often performed while you're distracted. It's the busy work.
It keeps the lights on, but that's about it.
Exactly. It doesn't move the needle. And the central problem our sources identify is that modern society is basically an accelerated shallow work factory.
And this leads to the thesis of the research, the deep work hypothesis, which I found fascinating because it frames this not as a productivity tip, but as like a market reality.
Yes, it's a supply and demand argument. The hypothesis states that the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare. At exactly the same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy.
Rare and valuable. That is the classic recipe for a high-priced asset.
Exactly. If you can do the thing everyone else has forgotten how to do, which is just sit in a chair and focus on one hard thing for 4 hours, you win.
So let's dig into the winning part. Why is this becoming such an economic necessity? The sources talk about a great restructuring. Who actually benefits from this?
Well, the economy is splitting. As intelligent machines and algorithms take over all the routine tasks, average is over.
Right. Being pretty good at a spreadsheet isn't enough anymore.
Not when a script can do it better. The research identifies 3 groups that are going to thrive. First, you have the high-skilled workers.
These are people who can talk to the machines.
Basically, yeah. Think of someone like Nate Silver. He uses complex statistics to predict elections. He isn't just typing numbers into Excel. He is leveraging deep, complex tools to produce insights.
So if you can work with the intelligent machines, you're safe.
You're safe. Okay, so the second group, the superstars. This is the scary one for a lot of people. Because technology allows remote work and global collaboration, the market is becoming winner take all.
I see where this is going. If I'm a company in Ohio, I don't need to hire the best programmer in Ohio anymore.
Exactly. You can hire David Heinemeier Hansen, the guy who created Ruby on Rails, who lives in Chicago or Denmark or wherever he
Oh.
wants. If you are the absolute best, you command a global market. But if you're just good, you're now competing with the best in the world and you're probably going to lose.
That is slightly terrifying. It removes the geographical moat that used to protect mediocre workers. And the third group,
The owners, the people with the capital to invest in new technologies. But, assuming most of us listening aren't sitting on $1 billion of venture capital, we should probably focus on those first two.
right, so to join the high-skilled or the superstars,
Mm.
the sources say you need two core abilities. One, master hard things quickly, and two, produce at an elite level.
Let's start with mastering hard things. This gets into the biology of the brain, which I found fascinating because it makes it physical. It's not just willpower.
It's all about myelin.
It's all about myelin, exactly.
Okay, break that down for us. What is myelin?
So imagine your brain circuits are like electrical wires.
Mhm.
Myelin is a layer of fatty tissue that wraps around those wires, sort of like the plastic insulation on a copper wire. And when you learn something hard, like a new coding language or complex physics, you are trying to fire specific neural circuits.
And the myelin insulates them.
Yes, and that matters because insulated wires fire faster and cleaner. But here's the catch. Myelin only builds up when those relevant neurons fire repeatedly and in isolation.
In isolation.
Yeah, so if you fire the circuit for learning Python, then 30 seconds later, fire the circuit for checking Instagram, then go back to Python.
The insulation doesn't form.
Correct. You get a leaky pipe. You stay a slow learner. To learn hard things quickly, you need intense, uninterrupted focus to build that myelin highway. Distraction biologically prevents your brain from upgrading itself.
That explains so much why I can spend 3 hours studying with the TV on and retain absolutely nothing. It's a biological failure.
It is.
Okay, so that's learning. What about the second ability? Producing at an elite level.
There's a formula here that I love. High-quality work produced, time spent X, intensity of focus.
Right. And I think most people only focus on the time spent part. We prize the person who stays at the office until 9 p.m. eating takeout at their desk.
That's the busyness as proxy for productivity trap. We do that because in knowledge work, it's hard to measure actual output. But the math shows that if you increase intensity, you can decrease time and still get the same result.
Or get a much better result.
Or if you keep time high and max out intensity, you produce something truly elite.
But why does switching tasks kill that intensity so much? If I just check an email for 30 seconds, isn't that just a 30-second loss?
No, and this is the concept of attention residue. This comes from research by Sophie Leroy. When you switch from task A to task B, your attention doesn't immediately follow.
It drags behind.
Exactly. A residue of your attention remains stuck thinking about task A. So even though you're looking at the new task, part of your brain is still processing the old one.
I feel this
Yeah.
all the time.
If you're constantly checking your inbox every 10 minutes, you are perpetually working in a state of half distraction. You are making yourself cognitively slower.
That hits home. I'll read an annoying email, then try to write a script, and my brain is still arguing with the person who sent the email. I'm typing, but I'm thinking about the email.
That is attention residue, and it absolutely kills elite performance.
Okay, so we've established that deep work makes you rich and smart. But the sources also argue something softer, but maybe more important. They argue it makes you happy.
Yes, this is the soul of work argument. We tend to think that relaxation makes us happy, sipping a drink on the beach. But the research points to the craftsman analogy.
There was a great story about a blacksmith.
Rick Furr. He recreates medieval swords using ancient techniques. It is brutal, hot, physical work. He's pounding metal, sweating, risking burns.
It sounds awful.
But he describes this trance-like state where he has to hit the metal exactly right. He gets this immense satisfaction from that depth. He calls it meaningful.
It connects to the psychological state of flow by Csikszentmihalyi, that we are happiest when we are stretched to our limits.
Right. And there was another angle on happiness that I hadn't really considered, the neurological one about attention.
This comes from Winifred Gallagher.
Yeah, she was a science writer who got diagnosed with a really nasty form of cancer. And she had this realization, who you are is what you focus on.
Meaning, if she focused on the cancer, her life would just be misery.
Exactly. She realized she could choose to focus on the pain and the fear, or she could focus on the movies she was watching, or the walk she was taking, or the martinis she was drinking.
And deep work sort of forces that choice.
It hijacks your attention apparatus. When you are deep in the zone, solving a hard problem, you literally do not have the mental bandwidth left over to worry about trivial stressors or existential dread.
So deep work is actually a shield against anxiety.
In a way, yes. A focused life is a good life because it crowds out the negative. You don't have time to be neurotic when you're in flow.
Okay, I'm sold. I want the money, I want the myelin, I want the happiness. But here's the reality check. I cannot build a stone tower in Switzerland.
Fair enough.
I have a boss who expects replies. I have kids. How do regular people actually do this?
Well, the sources lay out 4 philosophies of scheduling. You have to pick the one that fits your reality. The first is the monastic philosophy. This is the Carl Jung approach.
Eliminate everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
No email, no social obligations. Donald Knuth, the legendary computer scientist, he does this. He hasn't had an email address since 1990.
Wow.
His website literally says, "I have been a happy man ever since."
Okay, that is aspirational, but let's be real. For 99% of our listeners, that just gets you fired by lunch.
Agreed. So maybe you look at the bimodal philosophy. This is where you split your time. Maybe you can't disappear forever, but can you disappear for a season? Or a week?
Like Adam Grant, the Wharton professor.
Exactly. He batches all his teaching into one semester. He is hyper accessible to students then,
Yeah.
door open, answering emails instantly. Then the next semester, he turns into a ghost.
A ghost.
100% research. Even when he is in his office, his auto reply says he is away.
That requires a lot of autonomy. But I can see how you could adapt it. Maybe locking yourself in a conference room for 2 days a week. But what if you have a standard 9 to 5 with a micromanager boss?
Then you need the rhythmic philosophy. This is the Jerry Seinfeld method.
Don't break the chain.
Right. You create a habit. Every day from 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., I do deep work. Or every day before lunch, I do 90 minutes.
I like this one because it removes the decision fatigue. You don't ask, should I work deeply today? You just do it because it's 6 a.m.
Precisely. It turns focus into a rhythm. There was a PhD student mentioned, Brian Chappell, who wrote his entire dissertation this way while working a full-time job.
By the way,
He just woke up early, put in 2 hours, and then went to his real job. By the end of the year, he had a dissertation.
and the fourth one, the journalistic philosophy.
This is the black belt level. This is for people like Walter Isaacson. He was running Time magazine, a crazy busy job, and writing a massive history book at the same time.
So what did he do?
Whenever he had 20 minutes free, he would just switch into deep mode.
Just like that. Snap his fingers.
He'd be at a dinner party, the guest would go to the patio, and he'd run upstairs, write for 20 minutes, and come back down.
That sounds incredibly stressful to me.
It requires high confidence and the ability to switch gears instantly. It is not for beginners. If you try this without training, you'll just suffer from attention residue all day.
You'll spend the whole 20 minutes just trying to remember where you left off.
Exactly.
Okay, so we pick a philosophy, but sitting down is still hard. The phone is right there. It's tempting. The sources suggest we need rituals.
Right. You can't wait for inspiration. That's for amateurs. Great minds work like accountants. They just show up. But they use rituals to trigger the state.
So you need rule.
You need rules.
Yeah.
Where do you work? How do you work? Do you ban the internet? Do you have a specific type of coffee you only drink when you're deep working? It signals to the brain, okay, playtime is over. We're doing the thing now.
And sometimes you need a grand gesture.
Oh, I love these stories. This is J.K. Rowling, right?
Yes. She was trying to finish the Deathly Hallows.
Mm.
And she was incredibly famous. Her house was crazy. The dogs were barking. The window cleaner was there.
She couldn't focus.
So she went to the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh, a 5-star hotel, and checked into a suite.
That's an expensive office.
It cost her something like $1,000 a day. But that's the point. By spending that money, she created this psychological pressure. I am paying for this, so I better not sit here and check Twitter.
It's putting skin in the game. I have invested in this focus, so I must respect it.
There was an even crazier one, right? Peter Shankman?
Oh, yeah. He's an entrepreneur who had to write a manuscript in 2 weeks. He realized he focused best on airplanes. Strapped in, white noise, no wifey.
So what did he do?
He booked a round-trip business class ticket to Tokyo.
From the U.S.?
From the U.S. He flew to Tokyo, drank an espresso in the lounge, turned around, and flew right back. Wrote the whole book in the air. He didn't even stay in Japan.
That is extreme. But it proves the point. Environment dictates performance. If your environment is distracting, you have to change it, even if it means flying to Tokyo.
Now, there is one caveat here. We aren't saying you should be a hermit. The sources discuss the hub and spoke model for collaboration.
Right, because innovation often needs other people.
Exactly. You need the hub, the open office, the whiteboard, the serendipitous chat at the coffee machine. That's where new ideas come from. But you also need the spoke, the soundproof room where you go to process those ideas.
Like Bell Labs or Building 20 at MIT, they had long corridors to force smart people to bump into each other.
But private offices to do the actual work. The problem is modern offices are all hub and no spoke. We have the collaboration, but we have nowhere to do the thinking. We need to fight for our spokes.
So we have the space, we have the schedule. How do we execute? The sources bring in a framework called 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution. This is usually for big corporations, isn't it?
It is, but it applies perfectly to individuals. Discipline 1, focus on the wildly important. Don't try to overhaul your whole life. Just pick one deep work goal. I will finish this report.
Discipline 2 was the light bulb moment for me. Act on lead measures.
This is so crucial. Most people look at lead measures like, how many chapters did I write, or did I get the promotion? But you can't control that in the moment.
It's already happened.
Right. You need a lead measure, something you can control right now. In deep work, the lead measure is simply hours spent in a state of deep focus.
It's like weight loss. The scale is a lag measure. The lead measure is calories eaten today.
Exactly. If you hit the lead measure, if you put in the deep hours, the lag measure will take care of itself.
And discipline 3, keep a scoreboard.
Just put a piece of paper on your wall. Put a tick mark for every hour of deep work. Make it visual. You want to see that chain grow? It gamifies the struggle.
And finally, accountability. You have to review it weekly. Treat yourself like a business. Why did I fail on Tuesday? Oh, I didn't turn off my phone. Okay, fix it for next week.
Simple, but really effective.
Now, we're coming to the part of the research that I think is the hardest for people to swallow. We've been talking about working intensely. But the sources argue that to be good at deep work, you have to be really, really good at doing nothing.
Yes. Downtime is not optional. You need a shutdown ritual.
And this isn't just leaving the office or closing the laptop. It's like a formal process.
Correct. At the end of the day, you must stop working completely. No checking email after dinner, no, just one quick reply. To do this safely, you review your tasks, make a plan for tomorrow, and then you say a specific phrase. The author suggests shutdown complete.
Shutdown complete. It sounds a bit robotic. If I say that to my spouse, you're going to look at me like I'm an alien.
It is cheesy, but it serves a cognitive function. It combats the Zeigarnik effect.
Which is?
The Zeigarnik effect is the psychological tendency for incomplete tasks to just dominate your attention. If you leave work without a plan, your brain keeps spinning on those problems all night.
It creates background anxiety.
Totally. You're at dinner, but you're worrying about the project. The ritual tells your brain, it's okay, we have a plan, you can stop worrying.
And you need that break.
You do, because of attention restoration theory. Your directed attention is a fuel tank. If you don't refill it with true downtime, and by the way, scrolling TikTok is not downtime, that's just more stimuli, you start the next day with a half-empty tank.
So go for a walk in nature. Talk to a human. Stare at a wall.
Yes. And this leads to the final challenge, embracing boredom.
This is where we lose people.
It is. If you whip out your phone every time you stand in line at the grocery store, or wait for a microwave, or wait for a red light, you are wiring your brain for distraction.
You're teaching your brain that boredom is dangerous.
Yes. You're Pavlov's dog, and the notification is the bell. Deep work requires you to push through boredom. If you can't handle 5 minutes of waiting in line without stimulation, you certainly can't handle 4 hours of writing a complex report.
You have to retrain your brain to be okay with silence.
The sources suggest some mental calisthenics for this, like productive meditation.
Tell me about that.
You just go for a walk. Pick one professional problem. Think about it. And when your mind wanders, and it will, you just pull it back to the problem. Don't listen to a podcast, just think. It is incredibly hard.
It's like doing pull-ups for your focus muscles.
Or memorizing a deck of cards. It sounds like a party trick, but memory athletes do it to train attentional control. It teaches you to hold a thought without breaking.
So let's bring this all home. We've covered a lot. The economy, the brain, the schedule, the rituals. It feels like a complete lifestyle overhaul.
It comes down to a choice, really. The sources contrast the any-benefit approach with the craftsman approach to tools.
The any benefit approach is saying, I use Facebook because it helps me remember high school birthdays.
Right. You use a tool because it has some benefit. But a craftsman asks, does this tool add enough value to outweigh the massive distraction cost? Usually, for things like social media or constant connectivity, the answer is no. The cost to your focus is just too high.
We need to be craftsmen with our attention.
Absolutely. The message of this deep dive is that focus is a skill, not a trait. You aren't born distracted. You trained yourself to be distracted. And you can train yourself back.
And the stakes couldn't be higher. We are talking about your relevance in the future economy and your satisfaction with your own life.
As the source material says, a deep life is a good life.
That is the thought I want to leave you with. Are you leaving massive amounts of productivity and happiness on the table simply because you haven't trained your brain to ignore the shiny things? It's time to rebuild your tower. That's it for this deep dive. Shutdown complete. We'll see you next time.